go.
Okay, we are live. We are talking today about Brian Lee Draper and Tori Michael Adamick. They killed Cassie Stoddard. Um, they uh they were trying to imitate like the Scream movie. Uh, Brian Lee Draper, he was born March 21st, 1990, and Tori Michael Adamick was born June 14th, 1990. And um, are former American high school juniors who were convicted in Idaho as juveniles of the first degree murder Cassie Joe Stoddard. On September 22nd, 2006, in Tyee, Idaho, each of them were 16 when they committed the crime against their high school classmate. They both got life without parole. They were both inspired by the slasher film Scream. They attended Pocatello High School. Brian and Tori, they were both former Mormons who became atheists before the attack. And all three students were juniors and attended the same school. Brian Draper, who is now 35, he was born in Sandy, Utah. Parents were Pam and Carrie Draper, and their motive for the murder was fame, weapon of choice. His weapon of choice was the dagger. On September 22nd, 2006, at 11 p.m., um, at 11372 West Whispering Cliff Drive, he targeted one student and only killed one person. Now, Tori Adamick, who's now 35, was born in Pocatello, Idaho. Um, his parents were Shannon and Sean Adamick. His motive for murder was the same. Weapon of choice was a hunting knife. Brian was at the same address when the time of the murder um, took place. They wanted to reenact a similar murder in real life. They started a death list, which, um, they wanted to do their first kill, so they started the death list. The night of Cassie's murder, she was pet sitting for her aunt and uncle's dogs at their home, Allison and Frank Contreras. The family was out of town and hired Cassie to watch the house and the dogs. She was visited by her boyfriend, Matt Beckman, who had arrived in the evening around 6 p.m. that night. Tori and Brian had already planned to make Cassie and Matt their first victims. So Tori and Brian, at the time 16 years old, came out to hang with Cassie and Matt. So you could tell this was all premeditated.
Right.
Because they were planning this whole thing. I'm not for sure if they knew Matt was coming over or not. But they planned on hanging out there for a little bit. So probably just to get a feel for like if he's going to stay all night. I don't know if he knew he was there, but when they found out he was there, they were probably planning to see, what her routine is for the night, what she plans on doing, and what time she wants to go to bed. That way they could probably just go around that. Maybe figure out if they're going to watch a movie, order pizza, whatever plans. I don't know what plans they had in their head. But they did come there. Cassie had given them a tour of the house, including the basement. And after that, they all went into the living room and watched the movie Kill Bill Volume 2.
Which is a pretty crazy movie.
Yeah. Been a while since I've seen it. But, yeah, so they were watching that movie, but Brian and Tori had left before the film ended, saying they want to watch another movie at the theaters instead. Cassie, unaware they had left, so I don't know if she had fallen asleep on the couch or what had happened. It wasn't really clarified on what had happened. Brian had unlocked the basement doors so he and Tori could re-enter the house later undetected. So it definitely was premeditated because
Right.
he knew exactly what he was doing. He unlocked. Okay, so yeah, So sometime after leaving the house, Brian and Tori had returned to the house but parked up the street. They got out of the car, put their costumes on, which was dark clothing, gloves, and white painted masks. So they wanted to look like the Scream person. Um, they quietly entered the basement. So now that they were in the house, they're starting to make noises, hoping that the couple would come downstairs. In the living room, Cassie and Matt would come down to the basement where they would try to scare them. But, of course, that didn't work because, maybe the movie was still going on and they didn't hear them making all that noise. So they found the circuit breaker and they turned the power off to the house, hoping that it would bring them downstairs. Now, sometimes when the power goes off, you're going to sit there and think for a second, is it bad outside? Is it going to come back on? They're not really going to think the circuit breaker just yet. They're going to try and figure out what had happened. So they're probably, thinking for a second. Matt, which is Cassie's boyfriend, noticed the dogs kept staring down the basement stairs, and they were periodically barking or growling. And he had noticed that Cassie felt scared, so he had called his mom and asked if he could stay the night, but she had said no. So instead, she offered for Cassie to come stay the night at their house for the night, and she would bring her back in the morning, back to the house. But, Cassie was a responsible teenager and said no. She had, she was hired to watch the dog in the house and stuff, so she felt that she was obligated to do that and wanted to do that. So that's what she did. So she stayed home. So Matt had called Brian and Tori and had asked them, or he called and he was going to ask them if he could meet up with them later. But when he called, Brian, you could barely hear him on the phone because he was whispering, so he assumed they were still at the theater. But from the basement, Brian and Tori heard Matt leave. The teens, they then turned the lights out again, and at the breaker, waited and hoping Cassie would come downstairs, but she didn't. So when he called, they were in the basement.
Right.
So they were really quiet because they assumed that,
already had weapons of choice, already had their costume on.
Yep. So when he called, he assumed they were at the theater, and those guys, they heard him leave. So that's when they shut the lights out again, and then, but she didn't come downstairs. So they waited, hoping that she would eventually do it, but she didn't. So eventually they went upstairs, and Brian had purchased at the pawn shop. They were armed with a dagger, and Brian had the dagger, and Tori had a hunting knife. They had purchased it at a pawn shop. Brian opened and slammed the closet door at the top of the stairs to scare Cassie, who was lying on the couch in the living room. Because the closet the closet door was the closest. Yeah, it was a closet at the top of the stairs. So they wanted to scare her. So then they ended up attacking her, stabbing her approximately 30 times. 12 wounds were potentially fatal. Which is crazy.
They really thought this out.
Yeah, they did. They sure did. During the investigation of the murder, police had found that Draper, which was Brian and Tori, had made videotapes detailing their plan to murder Cassie and other classmates. Which this video footage was shown at their trials. Can you imagine that?
Now I wonder if the list of who their suspects that they wanted to go after were, if they had that recorded too.
I don't know if they had a.
It doesn't talk about it.
It doesn't really talk about their death list.
They said a death list, so.
I don't know exactly.
Because that's a whole nother movie.
Yeah.
So. I don't know if they've actually wrote it down or if they.
Now they said they had one. I don't. They never really mentioned about the death list, like who was on it or anything like that. So I don't know if it was just because it says that Cassie and Matt were there.
But what's confusing is they said that they went to the car and got gloves, mask, and all that, but yet they had fingerprints on the doorknobs, the circuit breakers.
Yeah. So the death list, I guess, was just Cassie.
So they just started to make.
So they had just started the death list. So I'm assuming the way they're thinking, they made a death list. So Cassie would have been their first one, Matt would have been their second, so that would have been two. I don't think they were writing people to kill. I think it was a random thrill kill. That's why it was called the death list, not the kill list.
Right, maybe they were making one as they intended to kill people.
They were making a list of people they were killing, so that's why they called it a death list. So I think Cassie was the only one that was on the death list. But Matt's mother was intentionally considered a person of interest. Because of his fingerprints were found on the circuit breaker in the basement where the lights had been tampered with the lead up to the murder. However, he had provided reasonable explanation for it because he had done electrical work at their residence for a few months prior to the murder, which was corroborated by her uncle's family, which her last name was Contreras. So
he had a good argument.
Yeah. Then the attention turned to her boyfriend, Matt, who had been the last person to see her alive.
Can you imagine that? You just left your girlfriend, boyfriend, and then and then to be pointed to,
like she was alive when he left, obviously. But I mean, they don't know that he could have killed her and left. That's what they're assuming,
right?
You know, because they had no, because according to them, he thought that Tori and Adam had left, so he didn't realize they were in the basement, especially when he had called. So he didn't know that they had returned.
But he did take a polygraph test and pass it, so that cleared him right away.
Yeah. So so the boyfriend of Matt's mom was initially considered because his fingerprints and stuff were at the circuit breaker. But like you said, like they said, he had done stuff on there. I just want to clarify, it wasn't Matt that they were after. They were talking about his mom's boyfriend. Or not his mom, I'm sorry, the boyfriend of Cassie's mother was considered a person of interest after his fingerprints were found on the circuit breaker door in the basement. Oh, so
they were reaching out to try and get clues. So maybe they did have the gloves on when they messed with the circuit breaker.
Yeah, because it said they had gloves, so that's
why. See, that's where I was confused.
Okay, that's why.
I'm like, but it says the court document said they put gloves, a mask. That's why I was confused on why didn't they have him on for that.
So it was okay. So the boyfriend of Cassie's mom, that's what it was. It wasn't Matt. I'm sorry, we had it confused for a second. The boyfriend of Cassie's mom was initially considered the interest of fingerprints, but the reason why was because he had done work on it.
Right.
And they see the fingerprints on there because the other ones wore gloves. That's why. Okay, so we clarified that. And then the attention turned to Cassie's boyfriend, Matt. Okay, this is where they talk to Matt now. Who had been last known to see her alive. But Matt confirmed to police that the lights had been flickering on and off while he was present at home. His mother explained to police that she heard Stoddard's voice from the house as Beckman was coming out the door. After he was cleared by polygraph tests and consistent alibi, detectives brought in Draper, which was Brian, and then Tori for further questioning.
So Matt must have told him they were there.
At the time, they were there for a little bit, yeah. But at the time that lights were going on and off, he didn't know they had snuck back in.
Right.
So
So they got Brian and Tori.
So they got Brian. So they got Brian and Tori in there now. They told the police that after they had left, where the residence that Cassie was at, they went downstairs to watch. Downtown. I'm sorry. They went downtown to watch the movie Pulse. The teens couldn't recount any details from the movie.
Wonder why.
Leading detectives to press harder to determine whereabouts. They claimed that they had instead gone through cars in the area and not had been to the movie theater. Brian eventually confessed to police but downplayed his role in the crime.
Wow. Great friend. Point the finger to the other guy.
That's what they do.
So Brian and Tori.
Matt and Tori were arrested on September 20th.
No, Brian and Tori were arrested.
I'm sorry. Brian and Tori. We're just talking about Matt. Brian and Tori were arrested on September 27, 2006, and they were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit for first-degree murder. Also, they did multiple interrogations with each teen, blamed each other, of course. Brian claimed he was in the same room with Tori.
When Cassie was killed. But of course denied stabbing her.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Who's going to say I did it?
Yeah, he was in the same room when she was killed, but denied stabbing her. And later interrogation, he admitted to stabbing her at the behest of Tori, who told him, make sure she is dead. He led investigators to Black Rock Canyon, where the teens had partially burned and then buried the clothing, masks, and weapons they used for the murder. Police recovered a partially burned VHS tape from the location, which after restoration showed the video footage of the plans to kill. So they were eventually...
Idiots taped themselves. Crazy. I mean, they were so on their plans, so I can't believe they were dumb enough to tape it. Craziness. So now we got the trial and the sentencing.
Yeah, so now we're down to the trial and sentencing on this, but you can watch their interrogations like on YouTube or whatever, and the one's telling his mom, of course like they said, he downplayed it all.
Right. Well, they were what, 16?
His parents
so
were
I'm
there.
sure they were freaking out because they got busted.
Oh yeah. At the trial, the prosecution revealed the two teens were inspired by Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who committed the Columbine High School massacre, as well as the Scream horror film franchise. And a passage written by Draper, which was Brian, that was shown in court during his trial title called Columbine. It read, "I am becoming more and more obsessed with Columbine. It seems that's all I think about. I would give anything to go back in time, be a part of Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold's lives. They are my heroes. I will follow in their footsteps, and maybe I'll meet them."
Craziness.
Well, you go meet them now. Both teens were convicted of first-degree murder, which Draper, of course, is Brian. Convicted on April 17, 2007, and Tori on June 8th, 2007. On August 31st, 2007, each received a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of a parole, plus 30 years for life for being convicted of a conspiracy to commit murder. Now, these guys haven't answered anything yet, so hopefully we can get in contact with them and see if maybe they want to do a podcast with us. We would have to, of course, do the whole routine, with the transcripts and all that stuff to make sure that they're not lying on anything. On that. So that might be a little bit, but hopefully maybe next time we do this, we'll already have contact with them and they can, we can figure something out. Yeah, okay, so they got possible, okay.
But Brian and Tori are.
Brian and Tori were both serving their time at Idaho State Correctional Institute, and it's located in unincorporated Ada County, Idaho, near Kuna. In November 2019, Adams' sentence was upheld after his appeal was denied by Idaho Supreme Court, which it should be. Um,
So Tori's was denied.
yeah, so, well, they were both, yeah, okay, so Tori's was denied, yes. Tori and Brian were both serving their time, okay, yeah. And then Tori and Adam were called to testify in 2024 trial for the murder of Norrie Jones in September of 2004. The defense argued that there were other suspects who were not investigated by authorities. Neither of them testified, and the defendant was later found guilty. The funeral of Cassie was held on October 2006. It was attended by 500 people. Wow. The convicted men's attorneys filed a separate appeals on Idaho Supreme Court on 2010 for Tori, and in April for Brian, 2011 for Brian. Brian was seeking to have his conviction vacated or to be given limited sentence for allowed for his release for parole if approved for after 30 years. The first appeal for Tori and Brian were denied in a 3-2 decision. The High Court vacated Brian's conviction on conspiracy to commit first murder, saying that the jurors were given erroneous instructions on that charge, but they affirmed that his conviction of first-degree murder and life sentence without parole. In July 2015, for post-conviction release for Tori was held before State 6th District. The claim was testimony for character witnesses and have changed the outcome of the sentencing, but that his former attorney, against his parents' wishes, choose not to call upon the witnesses.
I wonder if they were denied because of his statement about the Columbine.
That could be. Tori said that his attorney believed that prosecution would have submitted an even more damaging evidence. But March 2016, the Judge Brown denied the request. Tori's counsel appealed at Judge Brown's decision, Idaho Supreme Court, which rejected the appeal and upheld the court district decision in 2017. So they're not getting anywhere. Now the following for Tori's court filed written of habeas corpus in 2018, which it was argued that the court denied his first appeal on the theory that it was not presentable to the jury counsel. She argued that, and also argued that he should be entitled to a new sentencing hearing in the light of Miller and Montgomery decisions, which the federal judge denied in 2019. So Judge Dale's decision was appealed in the Ninth Court in 2002, but the court upheld the sentence in 2022. So they're not
getting anywhere.
No. In 2010, the Stoddard family, which was Cassie's family, filed a lawsuit against the school district, claiming the school authorities were negligent and should have known that Draper, which was Brian, and Tori posed a threat to others, but both civil and Idaho court dismissed the case, saying the actions of the killers were not foreseeable, which is true.
Yeah, you can't prove that they told anyone at school or...
No, but see, what it's hard to say because it wasn't brought to the school's attention. It wasn't like the kids were going up and saying, hey, Tori and Brian had a death list and they're planning on doing this. They had no clue. Like, nothing was brought to their attention, or they would have probably have done something. But I see what the family's trying to say, though. The family's trying to say, why didn't the school see
signs or red flags? Or anything,
but unless something's, like, said, they really don't know. And I feel bad for the family because it's probably just, and her boyfriend, you got to think of her boyfriend, too, like...
he's got to feel guilty for leaving her
Yeah.
and not making her go and take the dogs like they offered. And oh my God, imagine the fact that because she watched their dog, the aunt must feel horrible.
Well, it's not her fault. She did well.
No, but she probably feels horrible
Yeah.
that
And her boyfriend's probably like, maybe I should more assertive with her mom, but like, hey, I really need to stay the night because they're
looked into why the lights were flickering.
Yeah, but they didn't go in the basement. He's probably thinking maybe if we would have went in the basement, we would have seen him down there. I could have helped prevent this. Like he's probably got a lot of stuff going through his mind too. I mean, his girlfriend just got like brutally killed.
Now, who came home first? It never stated.
What do you mean, who came home
Who
first?
found Cassie?
I'm trying to think here. That's a good question.
I didn't see anywhere where it said.
Okay, right here. Her body was discovered 2 days later when her relatives returned home from their trip. So she was there for 2 days. The animals weren't fed or nothing, so there was probably a hot mess in there. You figure that they went and they weren't allowed to go. They couldn't go outside, so hopefully they had enough food for that time. They claimed they were.
Well, off the subject, do you know that if you die in your house and your dogs are stuck in there,
they might eat.
They will starve.
They wouldn't eat you?
No, they will starve themselves, but a cat will start to eat you if it gets hungry.
Well, go figure that one out.
I just thought I'd mention that because I just read about that the other day. Your cat will start to eat you.
But I don't remember if it was a cat or a dog that would eat you. But see, dogs are very loyal compared to cats.
But
everybody get a dog.
I'm reading this article and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Thank God I don't have no cats. But
well, I've heard of that before.
Your dog would actually get depressed and either start howling or trying to get out of the house until it got to the point where it was absolutely famished. Then it might.
She didn't have a cat. The dog would be staring
but
at
a cat will wait till it's hungry and then start eating you.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I hope I don't die with my cats around.
But that's got to be horrific to walk into that. And she was there for 2 days. So between the decomposing body and the waste from the animals, I'd be moving.
Well, I bet you they did move. Tori and Brian claimed they were inspired to murder Cassie by the slasher film Scream, which led to their being nicknamed the Scream Killers. So
see, they glorified it. I wouldn't even let them be able to have a title. And then
they did. They glorified. They got what they wanted.
These kids do this crap. They want to be popular, and then they want to have a title.
Absolutely, but they were 16 years old, so they definitely got
But the one's 35 now.
They're both 35.
So
Cassie would have been about 35 too. So they would have all been in their 30s by now. They said they wanted to. They recorded their documentary-style videos about the movie fans, especially Scream, and they want to reenact a similar murder in real life, and they started a death list of other potential victims the day of Cassie's murder following their initial plan. So they did have a list. From my understanding,
I read up where they had a death list. But I don't know if it was.
But the way they were explaining it, though, in the beginning, they were explaining that they were starting to list like Cassie was their first one.
Because it says death list of potential victims.
Yeah. So they did have a death list. So those two were their first two on their list, and it doesn't say who the other ones were. So they've been in prison since August 2007. So they've been there quite a bit. They spent almost 30 years in there. So they got what they wanted. They got their title. It's sad though because she's, they were.
He paid $45 for the knife and $40 for the other one.
The dagger for the.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, Brian and Tori Even though they were born in like different part, like Brian was born in Sandy, Utah, and Tori was born and raised in Pocatello, Idaho. Brian's family eventually settled in Idaho, and then Brian and Tori, when they were both sophomores at Pocatello, both boys were interested in film and started recording film. So that's probably where they had met. Or how they had met. So it's not like they grew up together, but they're both high school students. That's just, and they were all good-looking young people too.
But there is a thing on true crimes about it if you want to watch it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely yes.
It's a good show to watch to.
You can watch it on that. Yeah,
stuff.
you can watch it on like true crime. Like you can watch Teen Killers. I think it is. You'll see all kinds. I'm not for sure if these guys are on it, but like I think Krista Pike's on it. You would have to. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can watch these documentaries on. It's like so interesting to watch these. It's just, and to watch them how they just nonchalantly act like nothing had happened, and when they do finally admit to it, it's just like they're just telling a story about it. Like it's just another day.
Well, it says the one they were trying to pin that Nora Jones murder on them too.
I've seen that.
And
yes.
it says that she was murdered by someone else, and they did arrest him in 2014, 10 years after the murder.
Yeah.
So she's definitely the only victim.
And it's sad that they had to do it that way. Like, I mean, they could have made documentaries without murdering people.
But yeah, it's on True Crimes and it's on Copycat Killerz. There's quite a few things where they talked about it. So
yeah, their attack type was thrill killing, child murder, stabbing, and copycat crimes.
And then it looks like the aunt wrote a book. Tori's mother self-published the book The Guilty Innocent. So she must still think her son's innocent.
Oh, of course. Everybody's innocent. The lawyer's always welcome. You know how that goes.
Absolutely.
Don't you ever watch Shawshank?
I just can't believe they put it on a VHS tape.
Well, back then that's what they had.
I understand that, but I mean, come on, you're stupid. That's as bad as anymore. You don't want to text things to people because they hold it against
things
you.
on your phone and stuff like that, and unless you hurry up and get it off there and do, well, no, I shouldn't talk crime things like that.
Well, no, because I watch a lot of court TV, and they have specialists that can find stuff that's deleted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you got to be very, very careful in what you do. You don't
record yourself.
Especially doing things. Now, if it was something like
now they're both in the same prison, correct?
From my assumption,
it sounds like it.
Let me look here. I'm assuming.
So did they keep them separate because it's like a he said she said thing?
Well,
they're trying to.
Now. They're both convicted, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, but I'd be pissed off if you turned me in. And then we're in the same prison? You better watch your back.
I'm looking right here.
It sounds like they're in the same prison.
I think they are. After the murder, Cassie's family started pumpkins for Cassie to honor her memory. The pumpkins were named by Cassie's grandmother and a friend, and also provided a chance for the community members to help Pocatello Animal Shelter, Idaho Food Bank. Anyone who made a donation was handed a pumpkin. That was nice. Okay, they are both serving their time in Idaho State Correctional Institute. Yeah, so they both are at the same one.
Right.
So when no response from them yet, but you know how that goes. It takes a while for them to respond.
Yeah, I'd love to know how they respond because it says that he tried to put the blame on the other guy and vice versa, so that didn't work out for him.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I just don't know how these people think they're going to get away with this stuff nowadays.
So it's definitely different. Um, well, back then, I mean, when they did all this stuff, I mean, you know,
And come on, they
stuff was
started
just
the stuff on
coming
fire
out.
and didn't make sure that it was all toasted before they left it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I know they're 16, but if they had the brain to think this all through and set it all up and get the tour of the house, you think they would have known better to burn the evidence.
I mean, this is back in the 2000s. This is when like everything was just coming out. You know, like these fancy cell phones and stuff like that. You know, so you know how that goes. But I don't think they were really aware of you know, of what they could really do with those phones.
It's just a shame because
And they didn't even they still were able to pull the stuff off of the VHS thing. So apparently that
I
didn't
still have a
burn.
hard time believing at 16 years old they're thinking about killing people.
Oh, I mean, it's really hard to. I don't know. It's just really hard to understand that. Like, what would make them think that? Obviously, people are on TV because they got caught.
Right.
Unless it's like unsolved mysteries. Yeah, that's why they're on TV. They got caught. I mean,
It
did
don't
they
make
think they
sense.
weren't going to get caught? I mean, they were seen at the house.
Well, in order to be
And-
famous, and that's what I don't get. These people say they want to be famous, so obviously they need to get caught so they know who did what to be famous.
But see, even if they
because
were
nobody
probably-
was there, they killed her, so no one would have known that they were copycatting a scream. If you think about it, that don't make sense.
But I think the only reason they got brought up too was because her boyfriend's like, yeah, well, these two were here at the house at one point. You know?
Well, yeah, that's why they
Yeah.
investigated
Yeah.
into him. But what I'm saying is, if they're stating they wanted to be famous and they wanted to be called the Scream People, well, hello, nobody was there to see that they dressed up and they tried to burn the stuff.
Yeah.
But when that movie came out, it got popular quick, and a lot of people did pranks and stuff about it. So I'm not surprised this ended up turning out like this. But I don't know what the Scream has to do with the Columbine, though.
It's two separate things. They
Is
were
it just because the kid ended up
popular?
popular on TV?
It was a young kid that did it and stuff, and they wanted to be like them. It just.
I mean, there's other ways to get popular besides murdering people.
Yeah, he shot up a whole school. Those kids, they both shot up a whole school, and that's what made him. But
she must have been pretty popular to have 500 people at her funeral.
yeah,
Which makes it even sadder because obviously she was well liked.
yeah. They definitely So I don't know. Can you imagine though? Just finding out
I
like
couldn't
2 days.
imagine
He couldn't. Her
my
boy.
son or daughter being murdered by some idiot copycat. I mean, come on. I can't imagine finding out she was suffering all by herself either.
Can you imagine though, like him trying to get a hold of his girlfriend and couldn't for 2 days? He was probably wondering what had happened, why she didn't answer her phone, and he's probably wondering maybe I should. He probably wondered why he wasn't able to get a hold of her, and like why he couldn't. You know, maybe he's probably thinking maybe I should have went over there to see if everything was okay.
they're in there for a while. I don't foresee them getting out. Sounds like the judges are tired of these kids doing this.
Apparently, they think it's okay. There's a lot of this going on because we've just done a couple of them. Our last few ones we have done about that. Because we did the Krista Pike one. Um, what was the other one we did? We did the one Mackenzie Sharilla.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been quite. We did the one about the one kid who killed his girlfriend's baby. I mean, there's just so many of them. I just don't know what goes through their heads.
But they glorify the movie and use that for an excuse. It's just a scare movie. You're not supposed to
Here's one.
follow it. He looks young.
This one, no, I know this one right here. Hang on a second. This one we haven't done yet. Shoot, hold on. I can pull it up here. Hang on a second. There's a movie on it too. This is a good movie, and it's based on a true story. I just watched this not that long ago. I think this is it here. Shoot, where'd it go? Okay. We have one that this is probably the one if you agree with me, unless you want to do something different. The next podcast, because for this one, this is pretty much all we can really talk about with them. But this one is called. This one was called Little Monsters. These two kids, James and Carl, were only 10 years old. And they kidnapped and murdered 3-year-old David McClellan. And they were caught and tried and convicted and placed in separate juvenile facilities. At 18 years old, they were both given different names and released back into society, much to the horror of the nation. Yeah. They were sent to like a juvenile place.
They're only 10 years old?
They were only 10 years old, yeah.
Wow, and I thought 16 was crazy.
And they were 10 years old, and they had went to I think they had skipped school that day, and they ended up going to the mall. There's a movie called Little Monsters, and it has to do with them. But we would have to get into this on our next podcast. But they were 10 years old when they did that, and they were tried and convicted, and they ended up getting different names, and they got sent back into separate. I guess different families like took them in to get them adapted to
society
and stuff like that, and they were in different states or different areas. So they weren't supposed to have no contact with each other. It's a really good movie too, and there's like a lot of documentaries on it. It's crazy. I couldn't remember for a second.
Oh, in 1993.
Was it 1993?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We'll have to discuss that one next time.
Did you say 83?
1993.
93. Okay, we'll say it wasn't in that. Yeah, that'll
Highly
be our next
publicized
one.
case of 1993 murder of a 2-year-old James Brogler in
No.
Liverpool.
David McClenny's 3 years old.
Well, then there's another one.
2-year-old boy, 3-year-old. Let's see. It's called Two Little Monsters. That's why I messed it up. Two Little Monsters. Okay. And it was it was James. However, based on a real life 1993, a 2-year-old James in Liverpool, England, and true event 10-year-old boys Robert Thompson and John Venables. See, they named them James and Carl. That's their new names. That's why. Okay, that's why. Okay. But I thought the little boy's name was David. But I guess it was they changed all that.
Well, they probably made different names for the movie.
Yeah. But it's called Two Little Monsters. And 18 years old, yeah, they were both.
It's right here, Two Little Monsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it shows the boys at a railroad track, and one's on this side and one's on this side, and in the middle it says Two Little Monsters. That's what it was called, Two Little Monsters.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But their real names.
Well, not good, but I mean.
Well, yeah, their real names
interesting.
They changed the name on there because on there I think it said Davy or David or something like that. Yeah, their real names were Robert Thompson and John Venables. Okay, that's what it was. So you can write that down and take a picture so you can remember. But that was a really good movie though. But you guys would have to definitely watch that. And it's just like what would make 2 10-year-olds do that? I'll have to rewatch that movie. It's been a while, but I mean I've seen it before. Not too long ago, but I did see it before. I won't get into detail about everything because then but that's definitely a good movie. That'll be definitely another good podcast on that. If we do get a hold of the other two, if they do write us back or contact us, we'll definitely add that to the podcast next time to update you on that. I'm not really sure if, sometimes they'll contact us or they'll, say, you know what, I don't want to talk to you guys at this time. I don't know, these guys sound like they might want to be on the podcast. I wonder, I'm going to ask them too, like, do you guys see each other in prison, or did they keep you guys in different like block sections or different areas of the prison? Like if you're in section H and he's in section O or something like that. Do you think they see each other in prison?
I want to know. That's why I'd love to get a hold of them.
We'll definitely have to let
because,
you guys know.
like I said, there's got to be animosity there because each of them are saying no, he did it.
Yep.
But yet the one said that the weapons were his, so he's the one that purchased them. So I don't know. I'm really curious.
Definitely different. It should definitely be interesting though. I'm hoping they want to call in and be on the podcast. That would be really, really cool if they did. But I mean, some of them don't want to, and they'll just, maybe they'll just write down what they want, send it to us, and then we just say it on the podcast. If they choose to do that, we can do that for them. It's whatever they want to make it so they'll contact us. And Excuse me,
Bless you. I would
like,
love to hear about it from their
and,
their prospect.
and contact us, but it just all depends on them and on what they want to do. Do you guys have any questions or anything, or do you guys want us to research anything different? Um, we still have merchandise for sale, transcripts for sale, prison radios for sale, signed by the Freeway Killer. We have drawings and paintings, and if there's anything else that you would like, we do merchandise. We'll have our logo, and then if you want a picture of one of our people that we've done, we could also add that on there. Just let us know. We do like hats, we'll do t-shirts, hoodies, whatever you want, just let us know. Whatever you guys decide, we can do. Trying to think here. What else do we have? Yeah, Little Monsters is definitely. If you guys do ever get a chance, the film was made in 2002. You can watch it on IMDb. Um, I'm sure it's like on YouTube, and I'm sure it's on other stuff too. But that's just what it's coming up as. Is it's on there, but it's definitely worth watching. So
So next time, well, maybe you guys can watch the two little monsters before we discuss it next time.
yes. It's definitely a good movie. Um, Now let me explain about the two little monsters. Um, it's the film is a departure from okay. Two Little Monsters is a psychological drama directed by David Schmolmiller, known for horror-based horror classics like Tourist Trap and Puppet Master. The film is a departure from his usual genre, as like based on real-life tragic murder of 2-year-old James Bulger by two 10-year-old boys, Robert Thompson and John Venables. Um, the movie is not based on any true story. It's a fictional film about two boys, whatever, but um, it's based upon his a real life tragic murder at that time. So that's what he's based upon it on. So it's not like it's like a real true story, but it's based upon a something that had happened in his time, and he made a movie about it. So just so you guys know, to avoid confusion with that. But Two Little Monsters is definitely a good movie.
What can they watch it on?
It's on wait, I think I said IMD TV.
too.
That's upstairs. That's not me. Um, yeah, it's IMDTV, but it's a fictional story, but it's based upon the writers something that had happened in his time. So that's I'm just explaining that so you guys don't think that we're just like just putting that out there. Oh hey this. Um, he put like fictional names and stuff on there. So yeah. And the story revolves around two boys who released, yeah. Um, so I figured this would be another good one to do. But it is based upon a real life tragic murder. So our next podcast will be. What is today? So it will be the 16th. Sunday the 16th. And it's we do it 6:30 now?
Yeah.
6:30.
Oh, he was a cutie too.
Yeah, see, it's if you look it up, it's in England and it tells you the story about it. If you look it up, look up the murder of James Bulger, which is James Bulger. Um, he
Oh,
that's yeah, he was the 3-year-old that
was killed by
that
two
that,
10-year-olds.
that they killed, yeah. And that's what this movie's based upon. Um, so we'll definitely do that. His name was James Patrick Bulger. He was born February 1993. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. He was born March 16, 1990, and he died February 12, 1993.
He was a
couple
cutie.
days before Valentine's Day. So it is kind of based on a true story, but you'd have to definitely watch the Little Monsters movie. It's definitely good. Good movie. But you can also watch stuff about
They
it.
have pictures of the two 10-year-olds that did it, and they look innocent as can be. Look at that.
They look like they're like 6 or 7. They don't look very old at all.
Mug shots. That's horrible.
Yeah. Yep. So that'll be our next one. Like I said, Two Little Monsters. It's a very good movie. It shows a set of railroad tracks, and it's kind of like in a grayish color, and it's one boy on one side and one boy on the other side. You guys definitely can't miss it. And then the little boy that they killed is in the middle of the tracks that are both just staring at him. But it says Little Monsters, but it's called Two Little Monsters. So, alright, well, we're gonna get off here, but don't forget Sunday, November 16th at 6:30. Hope to see everybody.